The reason why we're organizing this global showcase for World Education Week is we believe that schools have incredible expertise in making sure that learning outcomes improve. Given the state of the world, we want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills, such as creativity and problem-solving, has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding, love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, We talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I am truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I am particularly looking forward to the global showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the T4 World Education Week. I hope you are excited as I am here today, because today we're here to talk on the theme promoting the science of teaching and learning. So I'm here with you today and I'm going to be your moderator. My name is Tope Akitunde. Welcome here, and we're very excited to have you here today. But before we go on, I would like to first and foremost, I would like to share a few housekeeping information with you first, before we even go into the introductory remarks, because housekeeping is important. So please take note that you cannot mute or unmute yourself. And for you to ask questions, please type in your questions in the question and answer session on the screen. It will be monitored by one of our team members. Also note that you can choose to include your name or just leave it anonymously. Anyhow, you can ask your questions. So you can either ask your questions anonymously, or you can go ahead to add your names to it if you want that to be done. Also, kindly ensure that you turn on your live caption option to see the translation if you're listening in languages that you do not speak, okay? So this button will show on your screen. So you click on it and it gives you the option to turn on your live caption. You click on preview. Please note that this may vary depending on the interface you're using. So whether you're using a mobile interface, a web interface, or you're using the Microsoft Teams app on a phone or on a desktop, or even if you're using the web page, this interface will be different. So kindly note that. Also, when asking a specific question to a speaker, kindly include the name of the speaker you want to address the question. And then finally, select the side-by-side and gallery view options so that you can see both slides and participants at the same time. So in the case where you want to see both the participants and also to see your slides of whatever is being shown, it's very important that you do so. And then finally, I would like to tell you what you're going to be learning in this session. So in this session, you will learn from the participants the journey in building programs that enhance employability, entrepreneurship, and also life skills. You would also have clarity on the fundamentals and strategies needed to replicate their successes in your contextualized classroom and communities in your countries. Is it not exciting? So now that you know what you're going to learn, it's very important that we set the tone on what we're doing today. So first and foremost, I want to give you a brief description of what our speakers are going to talk about today. So you know that in the school where they're going to talk about today, I won't mention the school so that I won't kill the excitement for you. But in this school, these our participants were able to work with learners in overpopulated classrooms. When we say overpopulated classrooms, we're talking about classrooms that had between 89 learners to 130 learners. And most of the time, these learners were sitting on the floor taking their lessons. But these participants have been able to effectively promote the science of teaching and learning to happen in these classrooms. And they were able to work with their students and stakeholders so that they were able to promote the teaching and learning in their overpopulated classroom. So I know that you cannot mute yourself. So I will start clapping with a big round of applause. I'm going to start by introducing our three speakers. I'm going to start with the only lady in this three. She goes by the name Grace Amoka. And Grace Amoka is an enthusiastic educator, a professional trainer and coach with an academic background in computer engineering and educational technology. She designs, develops, and deploys educational training programs for educational institutions and nonprofits. Grace coaches students and educators across public and private sectors to maximize their value and skills, create sustainable livelihood for themselves while pursuing their passions for impacting knowledge and delivering excellence in the education sector. So please, Grace, can you just wave so that our participants can see you? Yes, that is our first speaker, and she goes by the name of Grace, doing fantastic things. And then I'm going to quickly go into introducing our second speaker. And our second speaker is none other than Samuel Chibueze. Samuel Chibueze is a technology enthusiast, an educator who is passionate about the use of technology in driving learning, as well as the seamless integration of technology into every aspect of lesson delivery. He impacted over 88 learners for 2 years and has trained over 200 students, young graduates, and teachers on how to successfully integrate technology in learning and teaching. So once again, Samuel, with a big round of applause here, can you please wave to our participants? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. And then last but not least, I'm going to introduce Damilola Adeniyi. Damilola Adeniyi is a value-driven and passionate entrepreneur with budding interest in grassroots education and social development. He's a human capacity development enthusiast and an active player in education reform. Damilola is a strong believer in the unlimited potential of the Nigerian child and envisions a world where every Nigerian child can live and compete on global standards. Wow, wow, wow. So with another round of applause, please, a virtual one, let's welcome Damilola. So, like I said, we have these fantastic speakers who are going to share their very deep insights on how they have worked with learners in overpopulated classroom and promoting teaching and learning at the same time. So without much ado, I call on our first speaker, Grace Amoka. Grace, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tope, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Amoka from LGEA Primary School, Kaduna, Nigeria. And it gives me so much pleasure to be able to share how we were able to promote the science of teaching and learning in our community, in the primary school there, in spite of our overcrowded classrooms. So to give a bit of context, like Tope shared with you, we have about 2,100 pupils within 7 blocks of classrooms and 17 classrooms. 80% of these pupils sit on bare floors to take their lessons, as there are no desks for them to sit in. In my grade 3 classroom, I catered to 135 students with various challenges in sciences, languages, and math. And as you may imagine, it was not an easy feat to accomplish. But as the saying goes, when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade out of it. So I'm basically going to share with you 3 key strategies that I used to convert my lemons to lemonade. So how did we promote the science of teaching and learning within these overcrowded classrooms? So the first strategy I'm going to share today is mindset. Wayne Dyer was the one that said, if you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at will change. So for me, it was very important to deal with the mindset issue as an educator and leader within these classrooms. I needed to have a can-do and possibility mindset to know that it was possible to make learning happen effectively for these students, regardless of the challenges that we faced. The other side to this was building the right mindset in the children that we taught. So we needed them to understand that regardless of the hardships, they were simply temporary situations and they should not be a deterrent to all that they could become. So in our classroom, we constantly reminded ourselves that we are solution providers and not part of the problem to be solved. So once we had that mindset, it was easy for us to make sure that learning happened in our classrooms. The second strategy that we adopted was building effective relationships with the pupils. One of my favorite persons in the education space said, James Comer said that no significant learning can take place without significant relationships. So in building significant relationships with our students and their parents, we were able to understand their interests, and understanding that helped us to design unique learning experiences for them. An experience that that comes to mind in sharing this was a girl in my class, Beauty, who struggled so much with math. So she practically could not add simple sums together. I visited Beauty's mom's restaurant at some point and noticed that she used to help her to sell. The following week in class, I asked Beauty, oh, so how much do you sell? There's this delicacy we call moi moi in Nigeria. How much do you sell a wrap of moi moi? And she said 50 naira. So I said, if I bring 200 naira to buy moi moi, how many packs would I get? And she said 4, without thinking of it. And that was when it hit me that we needed to understand how to use the interests of these children to teach them, so moving from what they know to what we need them to know. And we could only achieve that when we built effective relationships with these kids and their parents, because with their parents, we realized that we could do so much more than just focusing on the kids, because the parents have a very huge role to play in building a well-rounded student. So the final strategy that I would share, and I really love so much, was building clusters of learning and accountability within the large group. So for my class, I said I had 135 students within the same space. We had them in groups of 8 to 9 pupils. And these clusters had team leaders that were responsible for providing support to their colleagues. The advantages of this were that beyond the general class group learning, understanding was deepened in these smaller groups. So it fostered collaborative and interdependent skills. And I'd like to note here that as educators, we need to be comfortable with sharing power and trusting the leadership skills of the students in our classrooms rather than trying to micromanage them. So imagine having to distribute 135 worksheets, workbooks, and other class resources. The time for learning would be greatly cut short. So I was able to assign these responsibilities to the group leaders. And the great thing about it was every single child had an opportunity to be a cluster leader. Another thing they were able to appreciate from there was to teach each other. And we always say in our class, when you teach, you learn twice. And this cluster method didn't stop within the classroom. So even in their various communities, they were able to continue learning within these clusters. So to summarize the points that I made that we implemented in LGEA Primary School in Kaduna to promote the science of learning and technology in spite of our overcrowded classrooms. So the first point was mindset, having the right mindset as an educator and building that right mindset in the students that we teach. The second was building effective relationships with the students and their parents as well, and other stakeholders. And then finally, building collaborative and learning clusters to ensure that learning is deepened and we're able to build the leadership abilities of these students. Thank you so much.
Wow. I am just blown away. But Grace, I would like you to share more on how you were able to get parents as stakeholders, because you know that most of the parents here in Nigeria are either working outside the home. So how was that? How easy? I would love you to share on how easy it was for you to have them become a part of your classroom, like an external part of your classroom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Tokwe, for that really wonderful question. So the thing about that I realized in my 2 years of working in this community was that a lot of times we move into new spaces with assumptions. So we make assumptions that, oh, the parents that I'm going to work with, they're not going to be willing to support me. And most times, all it takes is just having a conversation. I remember when we wanted to start a project to build a literacy center space in that same community, we had a bit of issues with finding a space and all of that. But just one meeting we had with the chief that was in charge of that community, and that problem was solved. So it's the same thing. I had the contact of the parents of the kids that I worked with. I visited their homes and ensured that they knew who I was. And we had conversations. Also, what's the vision for your child in this classroom? What do you want your child to aspire to become? And then I was always able to tie how the vision they had for their children into the ways that I thought that they could contribute in ensuring that we achieve that collective vision together. So that was how I was able to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. I'm very, very inspired. I have been an educator before, but I have not taught more than 20 children in the classroom. So 130, kudos to you. Thank you so much for all you do. And it is because of people like you that we're doing what we're doing today. So to everybody, don't forget to share your experience, take screenshots of this, and then share it with the hashtag, the World Edu Week. So we're going to quickly move to our next speaker. And our next speaker is none other than Samuel Chibueze, who is going to also share how he was able to promote the science of teaching and learning in overpopulated classroom settings. So over to you, Samuel. I'm excited to hear from you.
Hello. Hello and good day, everyone. My name is Samuel Chibueze, and I'm here to share with you how I apply the learner-centered methods in promoting and leading significant learning outcome in my overpopulated classroom. So in my classroom, I had a total of 78 students, and there are days that the number goes up to 116 students. So these are some of the key strategies that I have applied, and it worked in leading significant learning outcome in my classroom. First and foremost, at the beginning of the term, I started by creating my classroom vision and goals. The classroom vision is a collection of outcomes and goals that I want to be true for me and my students at the end of the term. And I don't just do it alone. I engage my learners, and including ideas from school leaders, from the school management, colleagues, and ideas from parents. Together, we create our classroom vision, and it's evident for everyone to see. And then the next strategy that I've used is that I created peer learning groups. So I divided my learners into 3 groups. And in each group, I ensure that there are high-performing students, mid-performing students, and low-performing students, so to say. So this helped them in collaboration and also assisted with improving their communication skills, because beyond the general classroom activities that everyone has, it helps them to learn on their own and also help them to drive high retention capacity for everyone in the team. And then the next strategy that I've used is that I engaged key stakeholders in my classroom. For example, when I taught cutting and shaping tools, I reached out to an artisan in our community, and he was excited about it, and he came to my class and he guided my students in during the demonstration. So my students were very happy and excited, and they were amazed, and they asked questions that were great and marvelous. And in the long run, this helps to drive higher order thinking for my students because they had to use the tools and they watch the live demonstration of the tools, and it's also helped to the ability to reason and reply in real time. And then the next strategy that I've adopted in my classroom was that I build relationship with my learners. So every week, I dedicate an average of 2 days per week in getting to know my students personally on a personal level, get to know where they do, where they live, and all the rest of that. This is very important because it helps in creating classroom activities, examples, illustrations that are relevant to their current context, and also ensures that my instructions and classroom activities always start from where my students are to where they need to be. So in that way, I am moving from what they know to what they need to know and to the unknown. And as we continue in this line, the next strategy that I've also applied that worked very well was that I always plan and research every lesson effectively. So for example, let's say when I taught weights in my classroom, so I came into the classroom, I reached out to a nurse in our community and came to the classroom with a scale. So every one of my students had to measure their weight and record their weight. And from there, we picked it on and the class continued. So we had to calculate what is the average weight of students in my seat. So which seat is carrying the highest number of students in the class. And then, so between which seat is carrying the heaviest, which seat is carrying the lightest. And from there, we continued. So this also helped them in thinking, and it's also helped to ensure that the objective of the class is met in the end. So these are the strategies that have worked very well in my classroom, and I'm sure that by applying it in your own classroom, the same thing will also be achieved. So driving learning outcome is possible no matter the size of the class. So just to conclude, one is that I create classroom vision and goals at the beginning of the class. And then the next thing is that I create peer learning groups in my classroom. And then the next thing I have applied is that I build relationship with my learners. I engage key stakeholders in my classroom. And then I plan and resource every lesson effectively. So thank you so much. It is possible to drive significant learning outcome no matter the population. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done, well done. So I just have a follow-up question, because in your building of relationship, in a class of 78 learners, can you share how you went about it? Because if I'm doing the math, the academic term, every term has 12 weeks. So even if you're taking 2 children per week, by the time you go through the term, you would have just covered about 40-something children. So how did 20-something children actually, because that is going to be yes. So let's say 24 children. How were you able to go through all the learners and be able to build the relationship? This is something I really want to know.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. I think this depends on the context that we are in. My students, there are various levels and times at which I get to meet them. So one, I come to school very early. So before most of them arrive, I'm already in school. So there is a certain batch of people that come to school very early. So we get to engage ourselves, interact, even while we do the normal cleaning of the compound. So I get to find out what they did yesterday, how their parents are, and all the rest of that. So we get to talk and gist and all the rest of that. So during break period too, that's also another time to meet a certain set of people. And then after school, I kind of walk them home. So as we are going home, we get to interact and play in the street. So we are always going in group, and everybody is talking and we get to interact. So by the time you look at this, you see that you can actually, for example, you go home with a set of these people that live in this in a particular area on Thursday, and on Friday you go home with another set of people that lives in another area. So they're always living in that cluster, and in addition with those people that you meet in the morning and you meet also during break time. So you see that these 2 days, it's possible to reach out to these learners and find out the context where they are coming, and also include it in your lessons.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you so much. And our participants, our attendees, if you're just joining us, you are tuned into the T4 World Education Week, and our hashtag is the World Edu Week. So that is our hashtag. So if you want to follow us on social media, just click on that hashtag. And we have 3 amazing speakers. Grace has gone, Grace Amoka, and then you just heard from Chibueze Samuel. And next is Damilola Adeni. So welcome, Damilola. Over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and it is my pleasure and an honor to be here. My name is Damilola, as rightly introduced, and I taught a class of 99 children when I started teaching. And believe you me, for me, throughout my journey in the classroom, stories are very important or part of my success in the classroom. And when I said stories, I'm referring to the stories I shared with the children I work with. One of the things I did was in my classroom, I have the special chair right in front of me where I sit. And after class or anytime we're free, I usually have the children come and they will sit at this chair and we'll talk. And for me, it was very important for us to have conversations. And these stories that these children share are, are stories about the pains, the hurts, the backgrounds, the joys as well, and all the great things they've had to do. That's happened in their lives, and this helps us to bond a lot. And for a lot of them, it's actually the first time anybody considered them as human. It's very easy for us to see children as they're just there to be seen but not heard. But for the first time, this was a teacher who came in and wanted to hear them speak about, to just share and express themselves. And this went a long way for me to be able to work with the children. I can assure you, having to listen to the stories of 99 children within the course of, my first year wasn't easy, but it was something that needed to be done because I realized that it is important for me to get to know them and for them to get to know me. And one of the things that, I had an advantage, and this advantage is the fact that I came from a similar background that they were presently in, the public school system, the humble background they're coming from. And when I tell them some of these stories, they find it very difficult to believe because they see the teacher standing in front of them and this teacher is telling them that, okay, I used to be like you. They find it really difficult to match that together. But this is very important because at the end of the day, I call these children like my champions. They're like 99 champions. And I call them champions for one singular reason. What these children have had to go through, have endured, and then the battles they've had to fight, it's more than what a lot of adults can cope with. And despite all of this, they still come to school and we still engage ourselves and we learn. So I would say that one of the strategies I used was relationship building through true story sharing, right? The second one for me was I tried a lot of strategies in the classroom because now you have a lot of children to teach, and I teach 2 arms. So I have to go from one arm to the other. So which means I'm teaching from 8 a.m. in the morning to when school closes. And afterwards, I need to, engage learners as well. So what I realized that this was very, very, stressful. In fact, at the end of my first year, I landed in the hospital really for like 3 days. But I think that was just an investment I needed to make because my second year was awesome. And what changed was I realized that every child loves to play. But when it comes to learning, that is where the problem is. Like they find learning as a very difficult task. And when I discovered this, I then decided to introduce play as a form of, I mean, as a learning boost. So what I did was I started this games club in my school, and I introduced the children to chess, Scrabble, and there's this math game called Race to Infinity. And what I discovered was a lot of people assume that chess is a game of, the elite, and then children, or especially in that kind of context, will find it difficult to learn. But I can assure you, at the end of my 2 years, we produced like 2 children who represented Ogun State at a National Games Festival. And at that age, one of them was just 10 years old at the time she went there, and she started earning her first, money by herself, and for
All right. We think that Dami is having a bit of network challenges, but like he had rightly shared, I think that the key thing that I took from what he, okay, I think he's back now. Okay, over to you, Dami. Can you mute yourself? We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry.
Okay, yes. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So very quickly, Zainab was this child who for 2 years wasn't really learning, and I tried everything possible, all the strategies I could think of. Nothing seemed to work. And the only time Zainab is that child that the only time you get to notice her in the classroom is when she's fighting because somebody invaded her space. And while I was wrapping up my teaching in the classroom after towards the end of my 2nd year, I realized I was about to list Zainab as one of the failures I had in the classrooms, like one person I was not able to reach. But something remarkable happened. When I introduced Zainab to chess, just about 3 weeks to the end of my time in the classroom, like I realized that Zainab, like she's a prodigy. Like from the onset, she picked, and then this created some kind of confidence in her. And from there, she started engaging everybody. And every time she would call Mr. Dami, I want to read, we'll take her to the library, she gets some new books, and everything changed just because she found something she loved doing. So to just wrap this up, the strategies I used was relationship building through storytelling. And these stories are stories we share with the children. And the second one was I introduced games. And one important thing I failed to mention was the fact that, you see, this game with games club I started with the children ended up as a project that was scaled to about 25 schools in Lagos and in Ogun and Kaduna states. And the impact was amazing because games helps children to improve their learning outcomes. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much.
All right, Dami. Thank you so much. Thank you. One thing that really resonated with me was the relationship building, because the art of storytelling is a beautiful art, and if you're able to have people easily share their stories, it means that people don't care how much you know until they know that you care. So it's very important and that is one of the easiest way that you would be able to reach your children. And I'm happy, even that special chair you had, it built a sense of importance, a sense of relevance, because like you said, most of these children come from backgrounds where they feel somewhat irrelevant. And for our audience, if you're not in Nigeria, in Africa, and you don't understand when Damilola said arms, if you have a specific class, let's say a grade 1 class, when we say arms, it means that we have different branches of the class. So Damilola was going from maybe a grade 1A, and then would teach English and go to grade 1B and teach another subject to them. So that is what he meant by arms. So thank you very much to our speakers, but your wonderful job is not yet done. I have some questions from the audience that I want to ask. So I'm going to name a speaker, and then I would ask you the question. Okay, so my first question would be, around, it says that this is for you, Grace. How do you keep track of all your students in your classroom? Over 100 of them. How do you keep track of them and their individual interests?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So part of what Samuel Chibueze shared is part of the strategies that I used as well. So as educators, we need to up our observation and listening skills a bit higher. So in random conversations, when they're playing outside the class, when you walk them to their homes, in the case that you do, and just picking, you just need to observe and take note of the things that interest them. Or when I'm reading a particular story about poultry, there are particular students that light up. I note it down and say, oh, these are the students that are interested in things like this. We also have different games that we play in the class. And when I ask, oh, what are you interested in? Do you want to do this or you want to do that? It also helps me understand where their interests lie. So interacting with them, conversation. The more you ask questions, the more you know and note down. I have an entire Excel sheet that has much more than their test scores. So I note the different, their likes, their dislikes. Oh, I noticed a particular one was not doing too well today. I make a mental note and then also make a note in my journal. Oh, I need to pay attention to this kid and understand what the problem is. So observation, conversations, and just going the 8th mile in ensuring that you pay attention to each one of them. Because as much as we had this cluster system, I also had to understand that each child is different. And as much as we have those that perform, almost in the same category in terms of academics, there's also individual differences. So in interacting with them and their parents, you'd be able to pick, one or two of their interests, plus all the other things that other speakers have shared. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again. So the other question is around how do you engage stakeholders? And this goes to you, Dami. Dami, how do you engage stakeholders? So you know that you are dealing with learners, but in as much as these learners are the ones that you're speaking to. So the question says, how did you include or involve all stakeholders in education? Why is it important to involve them in our work as educators?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think it is very important for us to understand that the child is just as important within the chain of learning as is the school authority you work with, as well as the parents and also the governing bodies. And it is very important because for me, most of the successes I was able to record in the school happened because there was collaboration and there was a huge support from the school leadership. I'm talking about from the head of school. And it is very important because this enabled us to be able to try out new ideas and new innovations that were not in existence in a public school system. And for us to be able to do this, you need the buy-in of the stakeholders. And that takes me also to the parents. Most of the parents are not familiar with some of the methodologies and the ideas we're bringing, familiar with a particular system. And then we're coming in with all these ideas. And then so what we actually do, for me, for instance, is I do a lot of house visits. And when I follow these children home when they're going home, and I get to their houses and I engage their parents. And I think when we started doing this, you find out that more parents started showing up for meetings, for PTA meetings. They started showing more of them are more interested in finding out how their children are doing. So I think it is very important. But for me, what I did was I needed to engage my school leadership and all the teachers in the school to be able to achieve what I'm doing. Any of the success I was able to record, the same with the parents and all the stakeholders as well.
Thank you so much, Dami. It's very important that we have stakeholders involved, especially parents, because the homeschool link is very important so that learning can become continuous and doesn't end after learners leave school. My last question goes to Chibueze Samuel, which is how, if in any way, did you incorporate technology in the learning, especially because of the numbers you had? Was it easy? What kinds, what forms did you, if you did so? Samuel, kindly unmute yourself and speak. Okay, I want to believe that Samuel is having some internet issues. So Grace, over to you. Can you quickly answer that question for us? How did you include any technology in your learning? Was it, what forms were it, looking at the large number of learners you had?
Okay, so for us in our class, we had a lot of YouTube videos that we viewed that related to the particular topic we were dealing with. Another thing that I know that I did was to expose these children to a wider world. So I remember we used to watch MasterChef a lot, which is a cooking competition that does not exactly relate with any academic outcome directly. But then because of the kinds of communities that they find themselves, there was the need to help them to see the world beyond what they thought it was. So for them, the world was just, oh, my father is a driver, or my father works in a mechanic workshop, and then my mom is a petty trader. I needed to help expand their minds. So we watched a lot of videos of children that are doing great things. And also, so when we're learning science, we look for videos on YouTube and just have them watch these videos, and then we talk about the videos that we see. So those were some of the ways that I used technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you, Dami. And I can see that Samuel has come back on. So Samuel, just in 1 minute, can you tell me how you inculcated technology in your class, please? Samuel, we can't hear you, so please unmute yourself.
Hello. So we use the open source tools like YouTube, and sometimes we get to include technologies like virtual realities. So in some to demonstrate some concepts where we may not be able to reach, like wildlife conservation, where it may take a lot of time for you to secure approval from government to take the children to the zoo or to some dangerous terrain. So virtual realities are with videos on YouTube put together, will be able to reach the learners, and it's actually fun and engaging, and the learners love it. So
thank you very much. You know, one of the things I've been thinking and smiling about, I wish I was young so that I would be in your classrooms, you know. I would come there because I can see that, like Dami clearly shared, I am also a product of public school education, not here in Ghana, Nigeria, but in Ghana. And I do understand that we need to do more. In my classroom, we're 79 of us in the class. It was a large classroom, and each arm we had from 1 to H, A to H. So if you have a JSS 1, you have JSS 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So you can imagine each averagely had that number. So I totally feel, and I'm very happy that those of us that have had this kind of education feel the need to go back and give back. And so today and this entire week that we're celebrating teachers, I say that hats off to you. Thank you so much for the fantastic work you do. We do not take you for granted at all. And I know that when you enter those classrooms and those children hug you, you feel the love. You know that it is coming from a very, very good place. So today, on the topic that we're sharing, which is promoting the science of learning, the 5 takeaway points that I want you to take away from here when you want to promote the science of learning in an overpopulated classroom is: 1, you need to change mindsets. Mindsets are like they are blocks that stop learning, because if a child has a specific mindset, it's very difficult for the child to learn. So you need to first make them unlearn the wrong mindset, and then you make them relearn so that it would help them to continually learn. Secondly, you need to build homeschool link, which was something Grace and Dami shared, how you're building a link from the house, the learners, school, and the home. So in short, we can't build a homeschool link without having stakeholder engagement, which is the parents and the community at large. So this is very important. Also, you need to have a peering system. So you pair your learners, which is where was shared. You're pairing learners in the sense that so that the learning groups become clustered into smaller groups for you. So instead of dealing with 130 or 78 in the case of Chibweze, you're probably dealing with 20 groups, which is easier and much more manageable because you've put them into pairs or groups that are easier to manage. You also need to build a classroom vision so that there is a goal for us. They see themselves as a part of a team together where we're heading somewhere. And you know what? I mean, if we watch football, we understand what having a particular goal does, where we all know that we're supposed to score the opposing team, and that supports a build. So that is a very important thing. And also having them to share stories and you listening attentively to them, which gives them a sense of relevance, a sense of importance, a sense of them feeling that somebody cares for us. And like Dami shared, you know, most of these learners in Africa, the child is supposed to be seen and not heard. And so because of that, these children somehow they just disappear into obscurity. They don't speak out. They don't share their opinion. So if as a teacher like Dami, if you're able to create a safe space for your learners to be able to freely share how they feel, what their fears are, I know that if we had allowed Lami and Dami to share some of their experiences, some of us will be traumatized because some of the things that these learners will not share with anybody. They only share with their teachers, and some bother into some very dark places. So it is very important that you build that. And then finally, because we're doing this in the place of online, virtually, technology cannot be left out. It's very important how little, how small you can, you find a way to build some form of, you know, technological connection into the learning. If it means playing a video with your phone or a voice note or recording them doing something, just in a way so that these learners, like Samuel clearly said, giving them some augmented reality of what is going on, because most of these learners have not left a certain radius of where they live in their villages. They might not even have gone to the capitals cities of the states in which they are. So it's very important that you teach them, and where we cannot access the information physically, you use technology. Thank you very much. Once again, I want to remind you, if you're just joining us, you are welcome. This is the T4 World Education Week. Unfortunately, you have missed the gist of it, but I know that you would find most of this on the YouTube page of the T4 World Education Week. You find it. If you can't find it, also use the hashtag World Edu Week to source for more information about this. So I'm going to round off, and I'm going to start by saying thank you. Thank you to these amazing speakers, Grace, Chibweze, and Damilola. Fantastic. Thank you so much, not just for being here today and sharing your stories to us, but also what you are doing for these learners, the lives that you have touched, the learners that you have impacted. We want to say thank you. And today, as we celebrate teachers, we want to say we celebrate you, we thank you, and we cannot thank you. I mean, if we come back here with bullion vans of money, that is not enough to pay you for what you do. We want to say thank you. I know this because I am a teacher myself, and I don't teach. I said it, 20 children, and I know how knackered I would be when I come back home. I can't imagine how it has been. Like Damilola went to the hospital after his first year, and it's not easy. It is not easy. Thank you for all you do. And on behalf of all the children you have touched and the other children that have had cascade effects of your influence on them, I say thank you. I want to say thank you to the organizers of the T4 World Education Week. thank you. Even in the midst of the pandemic, we found a way. We didn't say that, you know what, we're not doing this, but we found a way to share stories with teachers so that we're able to learn from ourselves. I would say that thank you, everybody that has worked there. Thank you, Teach for Nigeria, for bringing up these fantastic fellows. We say thank you to the team. We say thank you to Vika Potter for thinking about this and bringing up this fantastic event. And then for you participants, I do know that school has started all over in worldwide, even if it's partial, if it's blended, but you did take time off to watch this, and we thank you. We do not take you for granted. I know that the majority of these participants are going to be educators, so we say thank you to you. And once before, there is somebody so important who is behind the scenes, who is Sandra Minawa, who has been fantastic. She's been losing her mind trying to get things done. I can see her not breathing well when people's network freeze. I know that this is not easy. You know that technology is the most unpredictable thing, yet the most solid thing that we have now. So Sandra, thank you so much for the excellent work. And I want to say thank you to everybody that took time to be here with us. Once again, thank you, and we will see you in the next session. So if you want to have the recording is going to be available, so you just click the link after this event has ended, and it's still going to be available for you. If you want to catch, I'm going to share, I just grabbed my screen, so I'm going to share it on my Instagram with the hashtag World Edu Week. So please share your experiences. Like I said, the beautiful art of storytelling. If you have any stories worth telling around what you have done in promoting the science of teaching and learning in any way, there's no way that is too small, there's no way that's too big, we would be very happy to hear. Thank you very much. This was great for having me. And once again, my name is Tope Akitunde and have been your moderator for this session. It's been fantastic having you for this hour. I wish it would not end, but here, all too soon, time is up. Thank you, my speakers. Thank you, my able participants. Thank you, organizers of the T4 World Education Week. And once again, don't forget the hashtag is hashtag World Edu Week. And bye-bye from all of us here in Lagos, Nigeria.